Because if we think about, we're wanting to attract people who really want to make a change in their lives and their relationships, not only with each other, but with their relationship to themselves, which is the most important one. Yourself, your family, your friends, and your partners.
It's funny because I think, like with things like the social media, Facebook and everything like that, you know, talking about that facade that we've got up, spending so much time being all these other faces that you truly kind of forget who you even are, you know what I mean? I think it gets to that point, being your true self is the answer. You know, everything works from that space, but knowing that you're not being your true self, for one, how do you sort of figure that out? You know, it's just that uneasy feeling. Well, what is that uneasy feeling? And actually...
Because people don't really know what their true selves are.
Yeah, like being able to come from that space.
Yeah.
And we see like one person, we think, okay, that person's good with computers, so they're a techie, and that person's good at art, so they're an artist, and we immediately assume that they don't have any crossover, and it's like put them in bubbles. But people are not like one particular skill set or ability. They're a huge plethora of mixture of like a swirling concoction
and
of
it's
various
wonderful.
things.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I'm a techie, or I'm a artist, or I am a professional, or you know, all these things. Yeah, we try to define ourselves as one thing, but we really are, or other people as other things, and it's really hard because we sort of think, oh, actually, I'm kind of this, where am I? And we have all this, so trying to figure out ourselves when really we're just people, and people are just, you know.
We're amazing.
We are. And
we're amazing. The labels that we've got. You know, we're wearing many hats every day. You know, and to be able to come back to your own true self at the end of that, it's okay to put the hat on as long as you know you're wearing it.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? Knowing that you're wearing it.
Yeah.
But in many people, they don't take off the one hat before they stick on the next one, so they kind of have like 10 balancing on top of them, and that's when you have all these stressed out, unhappy, clogged people, if you want to call it.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
So what are your opinions on the short-lived natures of relationships these days, guys?
Short-lived, I would think, Sandy, just from my perspective, is, short-lived as in, you know, no genuine actual feelings in the relationship. So people go in thinking, oh, I found the man or the woman of my dreams, and then the dust clears, and then whether they stay together as a couple, but the actual relationship is not there.
So what you're saying is that when they get to that place, the work actually really needs to start together, where they need to grow together.
Yeah, that's when it's not happening.
Yeah.
You
It's
see
just
that a
become
lot.
too easy to get away from it.
Yep. So what was that again?
It's just too easy to walk away nowadays. It's just too easy. It's my opinion on why marriages are disappearing and their relationships don't last more than the 3-year honeymoon period.
A lot of people don't hold a lot of value on marriage these days. It's sort of like a piece of paper or a formality. I'm never getting married because my partner doesn't want to, and I'm happy with that.
I actually saw a program on Sunday where they said marriage is now redundant. And in a way, I think it is. Yeah. Like, people are still getting married, but there's more people choosing to live together than there are people who are choosing to actually get married.
It's a nice concept, though. Like the idea that you have a ceremony and dedicate your lives to each other.
I think it's more real in lots of ways, because you're being together because you actually really want to be together, and you don't actually have to have that piece of paper that says we're married.
I think it's interesting to look at the whole thing. People's personal growth is moving into a faster sort of pace now, and we're being sort of made to look at our deeper issues. And I think exactly like how you were saying before, we get to a point of, like, you know, one is growing and the other's not, and you can be in two totally different places, and rather than trying to grow together, it's easier just to end it, because then you have to face those deep dark scars, you know. So it's easier just to walk away and carry on
And start
in that place.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And yet, when you actually sit together and talk, and without the defensiveness, without the expectation or obligation, the three big words, you can actually get to the bottom of really knowing someone. And when you get past those scars,
it's so beautiful.
It's a beautiful place, really beautiful place. It's very harmonious and just wonderful. Relationships can be very, very beautiful.
How you can get to a point of, you know, knowing the problem, but what is the solution? How do you get yourself past that? Can you help that other person with it? And usually when you're sort of presented with somebody else's scars, it mirrors something in yourself, doesn't it? You know, we're attracted to that, so...
Different things they want out of a relationship, and they grow in different directions, which might cross over, like they're compatible at this point, but then they move past that.
Yeah.
And that's not to say it's not a successful relationship. Like you can have a very successful and wonderful short-term relationship, which leaves you both feeling happy and rejuvenated by it, but you might not necessarily be suited for each other forever.
Yeah.
I don't know if I agree with you. I think you can be suited. If you really want to, you can be going in different directions. But if you really want to get to know your partner, you want them to go in their direction, and you want to support that. You know, you want to be with them in their direction, and you also, they need to want to be in your direction as well. So you enhance each other and both grow and both fulfill what they actually want for themselves. I think that's a really important thing.
Two halves of a whole.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's important. We don't have to be going down the same road.
Well, no, and that's
then it
sort of what I mean. That
becomes
I have a friend who I was romantically involved with briefly, and we certainly aren't going in the same direction. And although we are the closest of friends, she's one of the most wonderful people I've ever known. I thoroughly enjoy seeing all the stuff that she gets up to now, and her new partner is fantastic, and I thoroughly approve of him because he's doing wonderful things for her and for each other.
Yeah.
So they have a really wonderful relationship, and my partner that was just like way back, and it was just this brief crossover, and then we didn't have anything. Sort of our relationship is sort of strengthened by our friendship now rather than being romantic.
By being in the romance, yeah, I get that.
I think that comes down to also those different types of love, and we can confuse things to be love sometimes, can't we? You know, if you find so many things compatible with somebody else, you can say that you're in love with somebody, but then it's that whole thing of, you know, that fades away eventually. You sort of see the masks come off and you see that true person underneath, you know, and it's not actually the person that you want to be with. It's... Yeah.
Yes, because there's those masks come off, because that wasn't love in the first place.
No, that's
the
exactly,
thing. We only think it's love with that person that we've met. When we're wearing our mask, you're actually not being authentic, and when you're not being authentic, you're not showing your true self.
Yeah.
So, is it actually love? Is there such a thing as love at first sight?
Yeah.
It's not really.
No.
Because you have to get to know someone to be able to really love them.
It's all fairy lights and disco lights.
Yeah.
And once that vanishes, it's, for some people it's easy to carry on with the facade throughout.
So many do.
They can carry that facade on for quite a few years.
Yeah.
And some people can't. But it just depends on where you are and how true to yourself you really want to be. Because if you're not happy with you can't be happy with anybody else.
What you're saying is that we really need to
You work on yourself.
work on yourself and make the changes within you, that if you're not happy, then you need to look internally to see what's going on, and then make the changes so that you are happy.
What you're seeing in the other person, in your partner, it's generally mirrored from you. So what annoys you is in the other person is actually what's wrong with the picture on your side. It's not what's wrong with the picture on the other side.
Right.
I always like to look at that, you know, like if myself and my partner are having an argument, it's one thing I tend to scream, "You're not hearing me!" Like, so I'll go away and it's like, okay, right, am I not hearing him? Is this the thing? Do I need to hear what he's saying? You know, actually looking at it from both perspectives is so interesting.
Yeah.
A lot of the time that facade can be who you want to be, like you're being somebody who
You're projecting
how you want to be, maybe because you're nervous or anything, and you're this confident person, but you don't feel that you are that person, so it feels like a facade, even though it's sort of in the direction you want to go. Or it might be a facade where you're pretending to be nice when you're not, and that when you're trying to do this for the sake of the other person, and or you pretend to be happy when you're not, and like that facade can be something that you're aiming towards, or something that you shouldn't, that you're trying to be to appease somebody else, and depending on what the motivation behind you might not even be conscious of doing it, like deliberately being a different way around other people, you know.
Yeah. And I do believe in all the work that I've done that when we're wearing our masks, we don't even know we're doing it.
It's on such a subconscious
It
sort of...
is absolutely, like you're saying, it's just something we do when we first meet people, but it's not our true authentic selves. But we don't even know we're doing it.
It's a protection thing, though, a lot of the time, isn't it? You know, protecting yourself from being embarrassed or being hurt or whatever that illusion is that you've created for yourself. Yeah.
And wanting to impress. You know, wanting to impress another person. You know, you really like this person and you think, I'll put on my airs and graces to impress this person.
Yeah.
And
That happens.
you agree with everything they say. And yes, we are on the same page when
you laugh at
sometimes
all
you're
their
actually
jokes.
really not.
Yeah, sometimes you've got to candy coat stuff when you say it so that you really don't. Because words can cut deep. They cut really, really deep. It's always been a thing of if you hit somebody, the bruises will disappear. But the words you speak and the manner in which you speak them can make or break any person or anything. So it's about, just, saying things the way they should be said, but being tactful, I think. Not being a Willy Wonka worker kind of thing. I don't know. It's... I used to be quite straightforward and cutthroat and used to hurt a lot of people's feelings, not thinking about it, but just saying it like it was, and then I realized they have to deal with a lot of the stuff that you said. How about all of the stuff that you said to them that you're taking away with you? So, yeah.
So watching the energy behind your words, eh?
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
And I think the sound too is something that
A big thing that
is one of
isn't
my
it?
things. I've got to be particularly careful about the tone of my voice because I can be very blunt and black and white when I communicate, especially if I'm thinking about something.
Yeah.
It comes out like, a command, but I'm not actually meaning that, but it's how I say it.
Absolutely.
And so, I need to be aware that my tone, it's the tone behind the words, and they can hurt. That tone can hurt.
True there.
Yes, that's another thing. So what about people who drain you? Do you ever feel that you get drained by some people?
Occasionally. Try and stay away from them as much as you can. It's the only thing I can ever do. That's experience I've had with them. It's the more you end up around them, the more you get drained. But the strange thing is you just, for some reason, gravitate back and get more drained. So when you feel that, you should try and get away, but easier said than done half the time, in my opinion.
So what do you think is the cause of that?
Almost scientific, say negative energy attracting positive energy to try balance. Honestly, sometimes you just don't have a choice. It's the environment you're in or the people you have to be around. Honestly, the only way I've ever managed to get away from it is literally stay as far away from the people as I can.
All right. So if there were techniques that you could learn to help you manage that, would you like to learn them?
Yeah, that would help.
Excellent, because I can show you some wonderful techniques to help you with people who drain your energy.
You can be an energy giver yourself and not know that you're doing it. You can be an energy vampire yourself and not know that you're doing it. I think, we can... You can try and help people really that sort of deep down that's actually just for yourself, so you're constantly giving your energy away to those people. My huge thing was learning that I was so closed off to receiving. I used to say, oh my gosh, I'm just getting, everyone's taking from me. I'm so exhausted. I was never open to receiving. What a huge difference. And my mum used to say to me, darling, you keep saying to the universe that you don't need help and you don't want it, so you're not going to get given it. And the universe stopped sending it my way. And that was my lesson. I was hit rock bottom, exhausted, because I wasn't receiving. I wasn't having myself open to that. As soon as I did that, and I suppose started working on that, energy giving of equal measure, huge difference.
Yes.
Huge difference.
You get a lot out of giving to other people, and so
Yeah.
they will get a lot out of giving to you as well.
Exactly, it's having that fair exchange, eh?
So what about doing everything for everybody else and then you don't have time for yourself? It's called catering.
If you're open, sort of like I say, how I was not open to receive, when you're helping people, when there is that fair exchange, the doing for others can actually fill you up.
Oh, it can.
Like that's
Yeah, yeah.
it's
Yes.
amazing.
Yes, when it's
Yeah.
that, when you're giving without expectations
Yes, yeah.
of return,
Yeah.
that's when the fulfillment is really there, where you're truly giving from your heart.
Yeah.
And you're not giving with a hope that you're going to be given something back. And of course, if we're open to receive, like you were saying, then that energy exchange comes back from other places, not necessarily the place where you've given, but it will come from someone else. And it's just giving freely, but being open to know that when someone offers you to pay for your cup of coffee, you don't have to have the pride to say, no, I'll pay for my own.
Yeah.
Allow that person to pay for you and accept that gift, because it is a good thing to do.
It is, but
Well, because when I was a child, I was taught that you shouldn't receive,
yeah,
that you should give.
yeah, always do.
Always doing, and that was a wrong piece of information that I was given. And so I grew up doing that, and I wondered why I wasn't happy. And then I started thinking, well, I do everything for everybody else, and no one does anything for me.
And it's
And
funny because
I got really bitter and twisted about it.
Yeah.
you tell yourself that, and then that becomes more of what is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, and it's amazing to see it like that too. Yeah, following that belief system.
Yeah.
It does too.
And then to change that around and actually allow people into my space and to give to me, and for me to be grateful for that, it was a huge step.
Yeah.
Huge. It wasn't easy. So what about moving into becoming a parent? How did life change once children came along? Because, in a relationship it's quite easy when there's just the two of you.
Oh, yeah.
But when children come along, what happens then?
It changes your whole dynamic completely. From being just priority one to your partner, and your partner being priority one with you. You need to reverse a couple of steps, because there's another priority in the center there. It's one that you've created. So it's it's a mutual responsibility, number one. And yeah, that's a demanding priority completely. And if you allow it, it can break you down completely. And in some cases it does. But it's all about trying to figure out how to not let it break you down.
It's interesting because it comes down to like the belief system, really, how every person is raised so differently with different beliefs of how things should be. And I don't think a lot of people actually discuss how they think they should raise a child, so when it comes to actually just having kids, you've got these completely clashing ideas of what should be. How do you work with that? It can be quite a struggle to get on the same path, with what you want for your children.
And a lot of parents, people usually have children when they're just getting over being a child themselves.
Yes.
Like they're only just finished being a teenager, or they're still a teenager even. And really they have very little subjective experience on, how to be from the other side. And like they know what they didn't like, what they did like, but they, there's an awful lot of things that you just miss because they sort of worked, and because they worked well, they went by unnoticed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It does take a lot of skill to raise a child, and to raise a child happily and without programming them negatively.
Yeah, but also, you might have, say your parents were really, really strict and you were just surrounded by a million rules, and so when you have kids, your kids have no rules whatsoever, rather than trying to find that middle ground. It's just from one extreme to the other, and then that kind of does its cycle as well, and carries on down generation, doesn't it?
And if you haven't done any personal change within yourself, the only thing you've got to fall back on is how you were raised.
Exactly.
And so it naturally just comes out when you least expect it. You're being your mother or your father, doing exactly what they did with you. Yeah.
True.
That's where support groups and joint experience comes into play. And of course, you've got a partner, then you'll be your relationship with them will influence how your relationship with your kids is, and and behaviour that they learn from you, they'll see it in each other, and it all cycles around and amplifies, and
And that's where what Sarah was saying about the different parenting skills. You really need to sit down and discuss that well before you have a child, as to how do we want to raise our child? What are the things that we want to impart? And how are we going to do this, rather than just leaving it to random?
Yeah, and I think, well, we pretty much like that. We didn't really think about, how and what we wanted in place with the boys. We just kind of winging it. But obviously there are certain things that we have in place where, they have to have certain, not rules, but certain boundaries that you put in place, or that we've done. It's just put in those little bits of boundaries, like having just manners, like please and thank you, as a simple one.
So what you were saying, Lee, really is that the pair of you need to sit and discuss how you want your children what you want to impart to them. Yeah. Because the first 7 years is vital.
It's vital,
It's vital in a child's life, because that's when the program is instilled in a child, in the first 7 years. Really, at the end of the day, do you feel that it is that most people, in fact I think just about everyone, wants to be happy and fulfilled in their life?
Yeah,
and we're just not sure how to accomplish that.
Getting the right tools to achieve it.
Getting the right tools
The right
to
tools,
achieve.
the right mindset as well.
Yeah, very much so.
You gotta want to do it. You gotta want to make the changes or grow. The right tools and the right attitude would definitely be it.
Yeah.
Doing the relationship class, honestly, the best thing I think I've done for myself, though. Learning to change my perspective on different things, to see things with different clarity. Thinking of magnetic demons and all of those sort of things, that seeing all of that sort of stuff in action and being able to work with that, having a different approach with what you're actually doing, and actually changed my life massively, in so many ways. You'd be the same. Yeah.
It opens your eyes, doesn't
It
it?
opens your eyes to see a lot of stuff.
How did you find the relationship course impacted on your life?
It has impacted quite a bit, because before I used to be I still do get angry and stuff like that, but it doesn't consume me to a point where I'm lashing out and burning the house down. Don't worry, I won't burn your house down. But you know what I mean, kind of just splatting everything out. I do get angry still, but not to a point where it totally overtakes everything. If I'm angry, I say what it is. So if you're kind of annoying me, I'll say to you, you're working on my last nerve, can you get off it now? And then I move along, because then I've decided, okay, this is what you're doing and I'm not enjoying it, so I'm just going to let it go. And then I move on. I think a lot of mine is...
A lot calmer. I don't seem to irritate her as much anymore.
Good. She's acceptance of you.
See, and that's key, isn't it? Lee's had the personal growth, and now you're not so irritating.
That's it.